The rehearsal process suddenly flew by and it's almost tech week. Where did all the time go? I have experienced this so many times, but over the years, I've learned more hacks for how to make the most of rehearsals so that we are getting everything done we need to get done, even if we're limited on time. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and this is Much Ado About Drama. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as I give all kinds of tips and information on how to run an amazing drama program and be an awesome drama teacher. I also have my drama teacher toolkit linked for free down below. And if you sign up for that, you'll also be signing up for my newsletter where I will share when content like this comes out and all kinds of just helpful things for my fellow drama teachers out there. Okay, let's get into our rehearsal hacks. Number one, when you are starting a rehearsal process, do not neglect to set expectations and build ensemble. I have been tempted in the past to jump right in and get started and not spend much time on expectations, but just as in the classroom where it was worth it to spend that time up front, setting those expectations and setting the tone for the semester, it's equally important in the rehearsal time to take the time to do that. And I usually spend an entire first rehearsal on ensemble building games and talking through expectations. I assume that, at least for some, you need to be given the basics of theater etiquette. What does it mean to be on time? What do you need to bring to rehearsal? Why do you need a pencil and why can't you write a pen in your script? There's always some people who are new. And so rather than assuming that everyone is already with the program, it's a review for some, it's new for others, but I always set those same expectations. And then we talk about everything that we're doing together and the main goal we have to have an amazing production together. And that starts with relating to one another and building that ensemble. I have a whole video on my favorite ensemble building techniques and games that I will link as well. Next is creating a clear and consistent rehearsal routine. Different shows might have different needs for what that rehearsal routine is. Mine looks something like a short warm up. Depending on what we're trying to do that day, it might be a longer warm up, but there's about a 2-minute vocal and physical warm up that we do every time, no matter what. And then sometimes I'll do a second warm up if it's related to a certain character thing that we're working on that day. Or if it's a musical where it's a big dance number, we'll do a longer physical warm up and stretch. And then I do cast announcements and then whatever the main activity is of the day. So if we're blocking something, if we're learning music, if we're doing a run. And then the last 5 minutes, I like to get everyone back together to do reminders and just debrief for the day. And then, of course, we clean up and we take some actual time to clean up and then we get out on time. I'm really big on starting on time, ending on time. And I think the actors appreciate that, the student leaders. And that leads me to the next one, which is managing your student leadership teams. I love student leadership, and I'm working on a whole series about how to support student leaders as stage managers, designers, house managers, whatever those different roles are. And when you're using student leaders, it's important to have really clear sets of expectations for those student leaders, especially if they're helping with rehearsal. If you have stage managers helping with rehearsal, I have weekly production meetings starting with the first one or two before auditions even happen, so that we're getting that team together, really knowing how we're going to work together to run the rehearsals and have the best rehearsals we can. And then making sure that you're consistent with those routines with that team throughout the process so that the team is actually being helpful to you rather than pulling you between the cast and the student leadership team. They should be clear on their tasks before and during rehearsals. And then having a plan for when the energy and noise level gets a little loud. So like we have classroom management techniques, we have rehearsal management techniques. So things as simple as a call to get everyone's attention back. I have worked more lately with junior high and high school age students. So we don't do the elementary school. But I do have things like, and a hush fell over the crowd, and everyone says, hush. And then they stop and look at me. Or we have something, maybe a line that's related to the play. So I'll say, if we're doing Beauty and the Beast, I say, tale as old as time. And they say, true as it can be. And then everyone stops and looks. So something that's an age appropriate attention getter when the noise is getting a little bit loud. And the other things that fall into the category of rehearsal management are calling actors only when they're needed, especially towards the beginning of the rehearsal process. So for Beauty and the Beast, for example, I would call Belle and Beast for all the scenes that are just the two of them, and I have a whole rehearsal devoted to that. And then I'd have a whole rehearsal maybe that's just Belle and Maurice, and then that's just all the principal castle characters. And we do that so that there's very little downtime and way less of a temptation to talk and get distracted. I call people that way. And then when we're at the point where everyone's added in and we're doing run throughs, I start with the first time we're doing a run through of the act, I always do a fill in rehearsal. So we run through it with the blocking that I kind of piecemealed by calling people at different times. And then I will fill in the bigger group scenes during that rehearsal. So when we get to that town scene where people are in, but maybe the whole cast is only in for 30 seconds, it's going to take a lot longer than 30 seconds to block it, but everything is done up to that point, and then I stage that, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I find that it's just a more efficient way to use everyone's time, and then there's less temptation to get distracted and start chatting. Now, at the big rehearsals where you are doing run-throughs and there is going to be downtime because that's just the way it is, I'm also very clear in what the expectations are during that downtime. So if I have proper supervision and ability to do this, I do allow people, if they have a long time before they're coming on stage, to go to our lobby and rehearse. Or if not available, I allow silent homework things, not on cell phones. That's something that I think is very helpful, to just have a no cell phone policy. I do allow any book work, and then if laptops, it depends on the cast and how big it is. Your discretion, but maybe they need permission if they're going to use a device, something like that. They're allowed to do homework. They're allowed to just watch and take notes. And then I also, at some point when we're getting close, especially to Tech Week, I have them all watch very closely, but give them that activity of having a single large note card where they are writing all their entrances and exits, any costume changes they have, any props they need to have, all the major things that are happening, and it's just on one note card. It helps the students take ownership of their individual role and everything they have to do, and it gives them something to do during that rehearsal. So with these tips, figure out what works best for you and your program and tweak as necessary. I hope that they're as helpful as they can be, and they've given you some ideas why you should continue doing it. Happy directing, happy teaching, and break a leg.